Okay, so welcome back. I've gone on and painted ahead. You can see this is where we left it off, very painterly, very rough still. But the values are kind of there. I quite like the darkness and the depth that we've got going on here. So I've gone on ahead. I've spent about an hour, maybe a bit more, hour and a half, painting in lots of detail. And we've got this. And you can see it's got a lot more depth to it than this. It's got texture, and you can have painted texture onto the trees, the ground, and a lot more detail in the branches. And I've put these in the trunks, and I've put these branches sticking down and hanging down, and it's kind of looking a bit more foresty. And the other thing I did, obviously, I said I was going to do it, was cut the top off. So let's just do that to our painting now. So we can crop this down to here like that. And so you can see I kind of shifted the hut around a bit. And I used the warp. I don't know if other packages have it, but Photoshop has got a edit transform warp feature. And you can pull chunks of the imagery around quite easily. Like this, and I use that quite a lot when I just want to shift it around. I was doing that a lot when I was painting this, just to straighten things up. You can see the hut's really nicely placed now. The light is shining through the windows, through the door. I'm going to show you now how to do some of this texture work. It's very easy. Like I said, it took me about an hour and a half to get to this distance. I think now it's probably good enough as a concept. We're going to put a character in here, and we're going to obviously put some colour on it, but we'll do that after this lecture, and then that'll be the last one for this concept. So I think you'll agree the values are really showing up now. So the light is really in the background really nicely. The darkness is really up front. It's still black and white, but that's fine. We're just looking at value at this point and shape. We've got this nice big swirling shape, and it comes down and sweeps into the forest. We need to put some sort of stones in here, so we've got a path going up and out. Bushes, plants, a couple of bins here, maybe with fire in it, just keep the wolves away. Yeah, okay. I think it's pretty cool. So let me do that now. I'm going to show you. So let's turn this off, and we'll come back to that in a minute. And first off, let's just look at the foreground first. So these trees here, I did most of this by hand, most of the foreground stuff, because this is the focus around here. So there's a lot of detail in this area, and there's a bit more detail around here, but all this is just hand painted. A lot of this I've used sort of tree brushes for this stuff up around here, and you just dropped it on. You just glance at it and you know what it is. You don't have to be too precious about this stuff. But this here, it's obviously a lot darker. Let's pick that off there. Yeah, so it's a lot darker. So go in and really, in fact, you could probably just let's just do this. Just adjust the contrast of it. There you go. So that already brings it more in line. With this. Yeah, there you go. So the values are much closer now. I think that's what I did initially. And I constantly do that all the time. Yeah, and this here is just a matter of painting, really. Just paint the edges. Don't go too crazy. Just build it up, bit by bit. Let's just have a look. Yeah, so it comes all down here. I think I did. So I wanted to sweep this path here that goes down through here. So this sort of starts around here somewhere, doesn't it? And you know, and if you look at this, it's just paint squiggles. I just went in and sort of squiggly painted it until I got all the values right and the shapes. And it does look like a path sort of comes down through here. And then these are just squiggles. I can show you that right now. You know, very simple stuff to do all this stuff. You know, just some plants. It instantly looks like it's there. I'm never going to get it exactly the same, but you get the idea here. Let's take that down a bit so we get some. There we go. A few more colours. And then for the side seat for the tree, you know, we just take some of the lighter shades of dark, if you like, and just start building it up slightly on the sides. And you need a very subtle amount, and you start to get an idea. You know that it's a tree. You don't need too much. That it's bark. Like so, just very subtle, you know, where the light's sort of bouncing onto this tree. You know, it's bouncing into this, you know, from this background. It's flooding forward and it's hitting this bark. Even though the light's sort of coming down this way like that, you know, all this light here is bouncing into the forest. So you're going to see it. You know, it's going to hit the forest. You know, and that's it. You know, it's very similar to what I've got there, and I just opened it up behind here a little bit, just to give it some more definition back there. That's it. Just to show you that there's light and play, you know, space beyond the tree behind it. I didn't want it to feel like it just ended there, so that now feels like it sort of goes beyond. And that's it. I just carried on, went through, just worked up all the you know, you can see the just strokes of paint, nothing much, swipes. You know, just strokes of paint going through. Adding the light, adding detail. It's very light in there, so you could, you know, to bring it back up a little bit. And as soon as you start doing that, you know, it gives it a really misty sort of feel to it, and it starts pushing it back further, which is quite nice. So that's it. That's what I've done around here, and I've just kept working into it. I won't keep doing it now because it takes a long time. I don't want you to just be sat there staring at the screen watching me sort of paint. I'm just showing you the techniques I use to create this now. And let's have a look at the roots. I just squiggled some lines down here, just to give you the impression that there's sort of roots coming out of this tree. So just keep working into that. Same with this here. I'll put some light onto the edge of the tree, just splurge it on. See what we've got going on back here. Yeah, you can just see I've worked into a lot of the details. So let's look at this floor around here now. I'll show you how I use sort of textures. You remember all the sort of photographs that we took before? Well, we can use them again because we use these for sort of reference, and we can use these as textures. So what I'm going to do now is bring one of these in, like so. Bring it in. So copy it, paste it. Right, now we can transform it. Give it some perspective. Sort of roughly put it where we want. We want some on the ground here. We're going to make it very transparent. We're going to make it black and white for starters. And we're going to get our eraser here. They keep moving things. Eraser tool. There we go. Okay. This is the new CC Photoshop, and it's, you know, it gets in. They keep changing stuff. I don't know. Right. So you can now rub it out where you don't want it. And suddenly you've got a bit of a texture on your ground without really doing much. You can change that from normal, and let's just go down through here. Overlay, so you can lighten. That works quite well. Vivid light gives it a bit of contrast, which is quite nice. And then you can just, you just merge it, control or right click and merge layers like that, and there you got it. It's in your scene now, and you just keep doing that. You just keep building it up. I mean, you shouldn't try not to copy too much off the internet. You can download images and you can use them, but as long as they're not recognizable, like that I just put in there was my own photograph that I took, so I knew we're going to need some textures for this scene. So I took a lot of ground textures. I painted all this in myself, just literally by hand, very quick. It's kind of quite a, you see, yeah, it's quite a sharp highlight up there. Yeah, I've got the values not quite right here at the moment. As you can see in the original one, it's a lot darker, and you can see the brush strokes there. But when it's small and it's not so much the focus, it's it sits well. You only need a few brush strokes. You don't need too much. And this work here, all I did was just go in and paint. I just went in, grabbed, and it just looks like brick because of the way it is. Get all the way down, so you get something like that. As it goes down closer to the ground, it gets less and less. You can see I even give it sort of a bit of a highlight in places, just grab a slightly lighter shade and top it where the light would normally sort of hit. And you can see it sits in there quite nicely. It's all about the value. It's all about the shade, about the about the colours. Well, about the value really. It's all about the value. What value you use where. You want to give a sense of depth. So make sure you get the right sort of value at the right level of your painting. Even I've created a shadow underneath here on the hut. The light I've sort of fuzzed out. I use a lot of I use a sort of a fuzzy brush quite a lot with a haze around the edge, just to give me this sort of hazy look in where all the lights are. I'll show you what I mean. I use this quite a big one quite often. I just go around and let me just put this layer on. That's the kind of effect I'm talking about, but it's a bit extreme. So we just take the value down, and you can go around and create some depth just by dropping in some light. There's a bit of some light. Just taking that, you can see the difference between that and that. It looks like there's light coming from behind the hut. If you add a new layer and you do it on a new layer, let's just do it down there. You can come back. You can come back with your eraser with the same brush. And just take it out where it overlaps the hut too much, and you get a nice. Just undo that. There you go. You get. You just rub it out where the hut is, and you can see you get the effect that there's light behind the hut, which is quite nice. Yeah, you can see this is still not finished. These trees, I'll show you how I did that. Basically, very simple. Let me just get some tree reference in here. Some of the trees and branches. Let's have a look at these. Which ones did I use? Yeah, here's probably a good example. I think I might have even used this. So you just grab a piece of this. Oh, that's my ground. Let's get rid of that. Edit. We can scale this up. Actually, make sure we go to continuous. Okay, just get rid of that. Get the contrast, take the brightness down. Use legacy, it'll get rid of all of it then. There we go, and boom. There we go. Oops. Okay, so now we can use this in our scene. With some tweaks. We can probably put it up in the corner. And that is all I did for those. Just you don't have to be super accurate. It doesn't know what it is. You give it a bit of, you feel like give it a bit more depth. Push it back. Just give it a bit of transparency. Then you can push it back into the scene. Well, it's not a very good spot for that because you don't want that spiky bit sticking down. Something like, you get the idea. And that now looks like there's trees. It's called speed painting. Whatever works. Some people don't like doing this texture work, but I don't care. I don't mind. I just think, if it works and it does the job, use it. Why not? A lot of stuff I painted all this stuff around here. All this stuff, all in around here, I sort of painted it and worked into it, and all this is just lines and squiggles and brush marks to give the impression that there's plants growing out there. They could do it probably a lot more, a lot of bushiness. That's it really. And I just worked into the wood on the hut by hand. No texture there. This is just texture work, and I'll push them more through here, and I'll work in some stones. Trees looking pretty good. I can see I've worked in some smoke coming out of the chimneys. That's give you, add to the sort of storyline that there's somebody at home. And that's it pretty much. Quite happy with the progress. I hope you're following this along and you kind of do the same sort of things. Just use the textures like I showed you, the images. I mean, you can download them off the internet, but just make sure you can't recognize them, because you don't want to be using them commercially and then people recognize them in your work. I took my own pictures. Go outside with your mobile phone, take a load of photos of ground and trees and leaves and plants, and bring them into your art package. Just cut them up, change the values, change the tones, change the colours, and paste them in if you have to. Or just paint them in roughly. It doesn't matter. We're just getting a concept. That's the idea. We're just getting a concept for a scene here. That's it. So in the next lecture, we're going to finish it up, and then we're going to add some colour to it. And then that is it for the concept phase. So I'll see you in the next lecture.